questions that I was dying to ask you, frankly, was, in the boardroom, behind the scenes, when the results maybe were, having a rough quarter, maybe they were flat or dipping southward, was there any pushback on this whole servant leadership approach?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I started talking about servant leadership in 2007, it was considered kind of an old, dead on arrival idea that was talked about 40 years ago by Bill Hollard and Max Dupree, and now we're over it. We're grown-ups, we don't need that thought anymore, and it really was dead on arrival. And so first of all, nobody knew what it was, or nobody really cared what it was. So it had to be kind of an internal strategy first, because you had to demonstrate it and then explain it. I still believe that's how you do it. You live it and demonstrate it and then explain it later. But yes, most people today now talk about the success of Popeyes, but let me just tell you about year one. I started in November 2007. We made our huge investment turning around the brand in September of 08. Does anybody remember 08? Right? I think it was the day Lehman Brothers collapsed. Okay, so we went headlong into the worst recession in history with our big investment. We convinced the board to invest $6 million, and it terrifying. And our stock went from $13 in November of 07 to $2.85 in March of 09. And so it was not all happy sailing. It was not all off to a great start, here we go. So I just want to start there. And so until we got performance results, nobody gave a rip about servant leadership in my boardroom or anywhere else. I remember the day I was at an investor conference. I was being interviewed by Piper Jaffray's analyst, and one of my analysts, they're all 27, he raised his hand and he said, "Why do you talk about servant leadership?" And we're in a big room full of people. "Why do you talk about servant leadership?" And I said, "Because I believe it's the path to superior performance results." And he said, "Oh, okay." And that's pretty much the way Wall Street viewed it. It was, as long as your stock's moving from $13 to $60, I'm good. Servant leadership, have at it, right? The genuine interest to explore and understand, not so much. But I was successful in getting them to reconsider some things. Like one of the things I'll talk about today is, really putting the franchise owner's interests at the center of everything that we did. I convinced my Wall Street analysts and my shareholders, if they wanted to know how things were going at Popeyes, call my owners and ask them. And they did. So I directed them towards some different behavior that servant leadership like, right? The boardroom, interesting. To be honest with you, I had a very good board. My board chair was fabulous and incredibly indebted to him for the stewardship he did with that board to help us be successful. But maybe a third of them understood or valued servant leadership. If I talked about it too much in the newspaper, one of them would raise their hand and say, "Could you not talk about that so much? It sounds religious," or something like that. So didn't ever have full buy-in. So the thing I would tell you in companies large or small, you lead this way because you believe it's true and right. But if you don't perform, don't expect anybody to be excited about it, right? So I always talk about my website's called Serving Performs, and it's intentional. We have to show people that this is effective leadership, right? Not just nice guy leadership.